But first, Future Spazzy here. Guys, I have posted a AMA in my video, well, in my YouTube community section. The link to that post is down in the doobly-doo. If you have any questions, go for it. I'm going to run that thing until the December of 11th, and I'm going to upload the response video for December the 12th when, hey, birthday, etc., etc. So, yeah, go check it out. Hey there, ladies and gents, welcome back to Avorion episode number 10. A nice, round little number, and so for that occasion, today I decided that today's video is going to be more about taking a small step back from the Let's Play itself, kind of looking at it from a, my own personal opinion, kind of talk about how much have we gotten far, what are we going to do, and of course, for those of you who have joined and are currently watching this Let's Play, to bring you up to speed as to what exactly is happening and how things are being done. I'm really sorry about the Discord. I have Discord muted on this PC that I'm currently recording on, but apparently I didn't mute it on my laptop, so I'm very sorry. Actually, I'm just going to close that thing, and hopefully it's not going to disturb us anymore, but yeah, let's go. So, welcome back to the episode number 10 of the Indecisive, the name that we gave our first ship. And yes, I'm going to say first because one of the things that I decided to do is that upon reaching the next tier, Jesus fricking Christ, I actually have to turn off. Can you please stop? There we go. Anywho, as I was saying, before I was so rudely interrupted 5 times in a row. One of the ideas that I had for this Let's Play is upon reaching the next material stage, I would have to, by the rules of the Let's Play, completely redesign the ship. And for those of you who stuck around with the first, well, not stuck around, but rather, those of you who started watching this Let's Play from the episode 1, you know that I actually started the Indecisive as a pre-made ship from the shipyard. I bought the ship, and then I started adding on top of it. And so I decided to do it like this. Upon reaching the next nation, so to speak, or rather the next nation in the next, tier of materials, in this case it's going to be Neonite, we are going to, again, buy a completely different design, like specifically try to make sure that it's a very different design from what we currently have, and we are going to then do the same thing. We are going to build on top of it, and, well, basically see what happens. So, small reminder as to the rules of this Let's Play. We are mostly trying to focus on the content added by the Black Market DLC. This is not always going to be possible because a large chunk of this is still going to be just regular Avorion experience where we have to explore, gather resources, and build a ship. But apart from that, we are actually going to go through the Black Market DLC mission chain as much as we can. Obviously there's no way I can prove this to you, but I have made doubly sure not to spoil the chain for myself. I have not seen the Wikipedia, and of course I'm going to try my best to not specifically go and look up for solutions if I get stuck. I'm gonna try to meander about until something clicks. That has the potential of being a very interesting experience for you as a viewer, or perhaps you are just going to sit there with your head clasped in your hands and thinking, Jesus Christ, this guy is thick as bricks. Now, one of the things that I did in the previous episode, or rather a previous Let's Play, which was back in the years of Discovery, was I made a timeline to show off the overall progression of the ship itself. As this thing is loading, again, the whole idea is that we are limited by a few rules that we have imposed ourselves during this Let's Play. First of all, we are going to ignore the main quest as much as we can. We are not going to, quote, rush towards the center of the galaxy. And before we can actually move on to the next material tier, we have to thoroughly explore the whole area of our current nation. It is a artificial kind of restriction or when it comes to progressing, and that is one of the reasons why, and this is, I'm just addressing some of the comments here, this is the reasons why I'm not in a hurry to make my ship out of titanium. I really don't have to, because I'm not going to be entering the next material tier for a little while longer. Now, with that in mind, of course, we are trying to get new systems and better things, and I think that if I'm going to kind of make sure that I spend a lot of time in a single area and kind of build up my wealth, it is going to allow me to experience some of the mechanics, or rather get the game systems that I have not experienced in Avorion, which includes stuff like building factories, building items from those factories. So, for example, making use of the science station, the turret building station, etc, etc. But yeah. So, let's take a look. So, welcome. This is the first ship that we ever made. This is one of our 3 mining drones now. And that is really all that I can say about it. This was quite literally the first ship that we ever made. And it's kind of funny that it prompted one of the comments saying that, okay, so I watched this video, which is 30 minutes long, for you to over-invest in a single mining drone. Cheers, I'm out. Well, I mean, I wanted to make it look interesting, which I think I did. It kind of resembles some sort of insect, but yeah. So, this was the original Indecisive. Still, I don't remember why I called it that way, but I don't regret that all too much. As you can see, it is as basic can be. Remember, this drone, this mining drone, is in fact a scaled down copy, and if I actually show this to you, I have a mining turret that I can just plunk on top of this thing, and you can see just how small the ship is, and the Indecisive, for all of its detail, it's actually not that much bigger than this mining drone. The overall, well, what I would call the overall detail of the ship makes it kind of, it makes it seem bigger than it is, but it actually isn't. Let's move on to the Indecisive number 2. So this thing, basically what happened is I started adding stuff like energy generators on top of it, making it a little bit bigger, remodeling the overall design of the the sides, and at this point in time I wasn't really sure what exactly I wanted to do with that thing, how the design would progress, so it really just is the first thing we did. We just added energy containing units, we had generators on top of it, etc. Now the third was where things started to become a little bit interesting. Now at the start of the Let's Play, I already agreed to myself that since we're playing on the hardest difficulty, I need to make sure that there is a chance to actually take damage and lose the ship. So I really didn't want to do the thing again, where I would be using the engine velocity bypass system, which completely negates the fact to build, the reason to actually build a ship, because you can just evade damage altogether, so you basically turn it into a speed tank. And, I mean, no amount of energy generation is, the nerf that the system provides. No amount of energy generation is going to fix that. And so, here we are. The whole idea was to provide the ship with 2 huge engines that would act as that same thing on demand, but not neglect anything else. Apart from that, that's really it. Some body work on it, making it a little bit more sleek in design, covering some of those, exposed parts, and that's it. The real change in design came with the next iteration, where I made the engines my primary focus. You can physically see that the ship is half of the engine, or rather the engine part of the ship is half the size of the ship, which I guess is completely normal. But yeah, you'll also start to notice that I actually have copied off some of these pre-existing aesthetics, because, for example, this crew cabin, which is just hull, it's just blank hull, it doesn't add to anything to the ship, I started putting it on top of the ship and, well, of course, everything else is just being armored up and made a little bit more interesting, etc., etc. The last iteration of this specific design came afterwards when I realized we needed more energy generation, and so I think this, out of all of these, I think that this one looks the best, simply because I moved the cockpit towards the front, or rather, removed it altogether, really, and kind of build it up like this. The front, the very front is not really all that impressive, but it was interesting to look at overall, and I really like this design, and I think that I'm going to kind of remember this sloping, like gradually sloping thing. It's not a single triangle, but it's like gradually sloping downwards towards the front. Looks kind of like a race car in a sense, which I guess it is considering the focus on speed that we currently have. But yeah. Now the only thing that I didn't like about the ship, which I later tried to correct, is the fact that the design itself does not really make sense, because the exhaust from these engines is, technically speaking, hitting the ship. And in space, where there is no, you know, where any sort of propellant is really tampering with your velocity and your, you know, direction of movement, I think that this was kind of a very poor choice on my part. And that was the whole point of why the last iteration of the ship actually came into existence. You'll notice that it's kind of growing out towards the front and, you know, vertically instead of horizontally. Up until then, I was trying to figure out whether I wanted to make the ship, like, whether or not I want to add to the ship by adding to its girth, or do I want it to, you know, make it a long boy. And in the end, I think we are definitely going to be a long boy. Don't mind the 7. The 7 is here because in this particular galaxy, in order to spawn these ships, I just named them after, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, whatever. This is where the Indecisive logo would usually go. But yeah. Now, the only problem about the ship is that it has a lot of these very small parts in the back that kind of takes away from its otherwise kind of very sleek aesthetic. But apart from that, I'm really glad how it turned out in the end. The one thing that I'm extremely happy about is that I could kind of get away from the engine in the back design and give it something a little bit more interesting, even though, you know, XD, like, it doesn't really make sense from a practical perspective. But as you probably noticed, I have actually started putting more effort into the overall design of the ship, adding stuff like these lights as a decorative ornament. I started adding the, I guess they would be called scanner whiskers or something along those lines, right? Basically just making the ships a little bit more interesting in their overall design. But yeah, that's really about it. So, again, the overall idea of the Let's Play, apart from, you know, exploring the DLC itself, is to make sure that we actually have time to play the game itself. So, before I continue, let's switch back to the actual galaxy. Yeah then, welcome back to the main gallery. Well, main save. So, as you can see, we actually have quite a few ships. We have Jerry the Junker, which is our mining ship. It's still just chilling there in this you know, scrap system. We of course have our Indecisive, and we have our mining drones. Now I'm actually going to switch to the Indecisive and let the mining drones do their thing. And again, the whole idea here is that before moving to the next tier, which in this case is going to be Neonite, we're going to be skipping Titanium. You know, the Titanium... The problem is, the Titanium and Titanium... Oh, how many times am I going to say this again? The problem with the current situation is that both Titanium and Iron are omnipresent all over the galaxy. So after we are finished with this nation, I'm going to be skipping over the titanium belt and going straight for neonite. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is that if the DLC mission chain is going to start taking us into the neonite sectors prematurely before I have finished all of this, then yeah, sure, I'm going to wait for it and actually complete this thing. Now, again, a small reminder, in order to finish this whole section and move on to the next material tier, we have to explore all of these hidden sectors, all the yellow ones and all the green ones. I'm not going to say that we have to clear them out from pirate presence, such as this one, for example, simply because that would take way too long. And in terms of the Let's Play, since I have the ability to just jump skip towards, more interesting parts, you don't have to actually come along for the ride for every single yellow sector where I just jump in, zoom all the way out, and just take a look around with my camera to see if there's any claimable asteroids, claim them, sell them, etc, etc. The one thing that we are going to make sure that we do in this area, before I forget again, we are going to build a station, and I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a solar power plant somewhere in this region, because this place had stuff like all these high-level factories, and, well, I think that is going to be very useful for us. So, this mining drone actually needs to mine. There we go. Before I forget. Apart from that, it looks like everything is fine. But yeah, so one of the close, some of the short-term goals for the Let's Play for the next few episodes is going to be, first of all, I'm going to address that one vote that we have regarding the scout ship. What do we do with the scout ship? For those of you who don't remember or didn't see that one, I posted a vote asking your opinion whether or not we should set up a dedicated non-combat scout ship to specifically go into either the next tier or just go for the barrier. Simply a ship dedicated to find and claim asteroids and to provide money for our overall Let's Play. So, that's a neat little swarm we got there. Let's do something about it real quick. One of the things that I'm definitely going to do is, in fact, start changing these chain guns into bolters. As the size of the ship increases, range becomes a bit of a more priority for me, specifically. And so that's just something we'll have to keep in mind. Anyway, that is really it. We have gone through some of the DLC missions. We have met Izzy. We have, started working for her, I guess? Yeah, her. She did mention that she is a woman. And that actually reminds me, risky business. Let's see, take all. There we go. Thank you for reminding me that I actually had to accept the attachment. Let's very quickly see if there's anything else. No, there isn't. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As you can see, we still have quite a bit of this area to explore. We have to explore the central area. We have to still find some of the other very outlying sectors that belong to the starting corporation of and that is basically going to be our next few episodes. Now, as already said, the thing about containing myself to make sure that I explore all of these things, I can skip over it within reason. You don't have to watch all of it, so I'm going to spare you that. But I think that it's already making a much more interesting experience for me because it gives me time to actually mine up some resources. And really, the one thing I kind of want to focus on right now is making sure that we get more titanium. Because until we actually start going into the next sectors, titanium is going to be important for us, not only to make our ship better in terms of performance when we just swap out all iron for the sake of titanium, but also because I just want to make the current iron ship better by adding titanium components such as the energy generation and containment, so that is just something to keep in mind. Money-wise, we are actually perfectly fine right now. So let's just say that if I wanted to go to our equipment dealers, that is certainly something that we should be doing. If anything, just for the sake of a preparation for the future exploration, so to speak. And depending on how much I am physically able to... Oh, wow, was that a... Oh, thanks. Was that a very good bolter turret that I just saw? Probably. Mining turret. Oh, there it is, bolter turret. 62 DPS. I really like that. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I'm really happy with the ship and how it controls and acts right now. I have nothing against that. As already said, I want to actually try to create my own turrets, so bolter turrets in this case, because I want to go for, you know, distance rather than anything else for now. And actually, I'm kind of wondering if I should make them auto-targeting. Of course, I'm losing half of my DPS, but at the same time, as you can probably tell, I'm not really good at the actual flight mechanics of this game yet. I have way too much conflicting experience with stuff like Freelancer, for example, where it kind of just shows where to aim. You know, easy mode, I get it, of course, but at the same time, that's just how it is. Alright, ladies and gents, this is really all that there is to it for episode 10. This is how far that we have gotten, and that is what we're going to be doing in the nearby episodes. The other thing that I'm going to tell you is really to kind of keep in mind that I do read the comments, even though I do not always have a chance to respond to them, more than just, you know, putting a thumbs up for you. But I do read all of them, and I take your, you know, feedback into account, and so, you know, speak up. Anyway, ladies and gents, thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.